Hey guys, this is Eric with Mediavine and welcome to our Go for Teal video series. This week I want to take it back to when we used to kind of define how advertising technology works, or ad tech. In a previous segment I talked about what is an SSP, or supply side platform. You can either watch that YouTube video, or the quickest summation is it's how publishers list their advertising inventory for sale. So it's kind of our side of the ad exchange. Today I want to talk about the other side of the ad exchange, and that is the DSP, or a demand-side platform. So what the heck is a demand-side platform? So a demand-side platform is cloud-based software that advertisers can log into and kind of predefine what they're looking to advertise or what advertising impressions they want to buy. And in that real-time auction, they're able to make those bids. So the easiest example I can give, and this is not an actual DSP, would be Google AdWords, or when you buy a Facebook ad. The reason I'm going to use these examples is because it's pretty common that many of you have probably actually used those two platforms to buy advertising. They're incredibly simple. They're definitely not a DSP again. So how does it work when you're buying a Facebook ad? So you go in there, you're going to set, this is my budget, these are the dates I want it to run, these are the people I'm looking to target, so maybe females age 34 to 45 who are interested in whatever hobbies that Facebook can creepily identify about you. So DSPs don't actually have that same ability as Facebook because, well, that is very unique to Facebook, but DSPs have a whole lot of other advantages. So similar concept, an advertiser is going to log into that DSP and they're going to say, these are my budget, these are the dates I'm looking to spend, and then they can do a whole heck of a lot more because the DSP is made for kind of more advanced buyers. So they can use things called audience segments instead of using all that Facebook creepy tracking. So audience segments are, if you've ever heard of places like Quantcast and wondered how the heck are they able to give me these kind of pixels for free and not charge me, that's because what they're doing is actually creating audience segments. So knowing what types of sites users visit. So it's pretty anonymous and it's definitely a lot more innocuous. It's not looking at this is what I posted about or really any personal details about you. It's really just looking at your browsing history to kind of figure out a little more information. So this might be someone who's interested in autos, for example, so an auto advertiser can target against them. So audience segments are just one of the many things that DSPs allow an advertiser to do. They can do a whole heck of a lot more. They can use what's called a DMP, or a data management platform, and kind of upload their own data into the thing. So let's say they use a CRM like Salesforce, and they could actually say, these are my customers, I want to target them. And then using something called cookie matching or user syncing, if the DSP happens to see that user as they're browsing around the web, you'll be able to target them. You can do things like retargeting, where you'll upload a tracking pixel to your site from the DSP, and then you'll be able to target users that added something on your website, such as an item to the shopping cart. Now you can target them throughout the web. So DSPs kind of give you all of these cool abilities that you could not get just by doing Facebook or AdWords. So that's kind of the role of the DSP. So again, as I said, you're kind of uploading all of this stuff ahead of time as an advertiser. And then what happens as a user's browsing the web, there's going to be real-time auctions for every single advertisement on the websites they visit. So we as an SSP are going to say, here's the advertisement up for auction, because we're the supply side again. And then the demand side, or the buyers, those DSPs are all going to know ahead of time, remember, because those advertisers already said these are kind of my targeting parameters. The DSP kind of runs its own little auction now to decide which bid do I want to submit for that user. Then a whole handful of DSPs that are all hooked up to that same SSP are going to submit their bids. And then our SSP, because it's representing us as the seller, is just going to choose the highest bid for us. The DSPs, though, had a whole bunch of other stuff that had to go into their auction. Because remember, they have a lot of different metrics that they have to optimize for. So they have all the different metrics, such as these are the flight dates I want to run for. They have a lot of advertisers that are probably trying to target the same users, so they have to kind of divvy up that spend. So DSPs have a lot more complex of an algorithm. SSPs are a lot simpler in that we just want to make the most amount of money as publishers, right? But advertisers and their DSPs have to do a lot more logic on their side. So that's kind of the cool dual role of an SSP and a DSP, and why we kind of want both to exist in the ecosystem. Great example I like to think of is in a real estate transaction, right? You want your own listing agent to represent you as the seller, and then you'd want the buyer to have their own real estate agent, because you both want different things in the purchase of a home, right? As a seller, you want to make the most amount of money, and the buyer wants to get it for the cheapest price possible. Same thing happens in advertising inventory. You want the most amount of money for your ad spots, and advertisers obviously want to pay the least. So it's good that kind of there's dual representation. We have SSPs, they have DSPs, and the combination of them kind of make up this ad exchange. So as I mentioned before, AdWords is not a good example of a DSP. So what is a good example? Most of the DSPs are unfortunately not going to be household names you're going to know. So a popular DSP that's actually run by Google is called DV360. You've probably never heard of that. Display and Video 360 is what it stands for. It's not a clever name, but it's actually Google's very powerful product, way more powerful than AdWords for advertisers. There's also the Trade Desk, incredibly large, publicly traded, but again, probably not a name that you know. They're not household names. Adobe owns one. There's just a ton of names that, again, you're not going to recognize. DataZoo, Criteo, I could go through them, but it's not that important. As an advertiser, they're going to be able to do their research and find the DSP that they wanted to work with. Our goal is to work with SSPs that work with those various DSPs. There are some DSPs that as a publisher we work directly with, but for the most part, there's over 100 of these. So we're going to work directly with the SSPs as opposed to us. Because remember, DSPs have a lot of things they have to do. They have to also collect payment from all those advertisers, send that payment through. It would be a little complex if they were to work with every publisher directly. So they have to work with all the advertisers, and then the SSPs only have to work with all the different publishers. So that's kind of what a DSP, a very complex topic in a nutshell. We also have an accompanying blog post that goes into a lot of this in detail as well. So if you have any questions, please ask below in the comments. But thank you for listening, and we promise we'll get back to how you guys can make more money next week. Thank you, guys.